Next on the news, the people of Uvalde getting some much-needed help from the Catholic community in the wake of the school shooting. We'll have a report from John Lavenburg, who's on the ground in Texas. Plus,
she's full of love and full of life. And she would do anything for anybody.
Immeasurable pain for the families of the victims as they now plan their funerals. Plus, a Memorial Day tradition being fulfilled once again at Arlington National Cemetery. And how the Coast Guard is commemorating a key moment in U.S. history with this patriotic buoy. This special edition of Currents News starts right now. The Uvalde, Texas Catholic community is comforting children in need after another devastating development. The four siblings are now without both parents. Their mom was one of the teachers killed in the school rampage, and just days later, their father has died. And the assistance doesn't end there. Catholic Charities helping the community in any way possible in the days after the tragedy that claimed so many innocent lives. I'm Emily Drewby in for Christine Persichetti. Just 3 days after the rampage that killed 19 elementary school students and 2 teachers, the small community of Uvalde is understandably still in shock. National correspondent John Lavenburg is in Texas and joins us now. Hi, John.
Hi, Emily. Happy to be with you.
John, Thursday you attended that mass we just saw in honor of Joe and Irma Garcia. Can you tell us about it?
Absolutely, Emily. The Mass, it was very emotional. At the start, Archbishop Gustavo called up one of the children of those 2 parents that you just mentioned, and he presented, and the son, he brought up 2 flowers to add to the altar alongside the 21 others that were placed there days before by children in honor of the victims. And so that happened, and then as the Mass went on, there was just a very heavy emotional feeling there, and then Archbishop Gustavo, who got choked up himself multiple times, called up the other siblings as well, and they all together, he prayed for them, blessed them, and presented them the whole bouquet of flowers in honor of their parents. And after that, people stayed for a while after the Mass ended, just praying, hugging, many tears, just trying to support and be with one another through this unimaginable time.
John, I can't imagine how heartbreaking it must be to be there. Now, I heard also you spent some time with Catholic Charities. How are they helping the community in the aftermath of this tragedy?
So actually right next door to Sacred Heart Catholic Church in their CCD building, the Catholic Charities of San Antonio has set up an operation there, and essentially what they're doing is they're offering counseling, case management. They have a lawyer there in case anyone wants legal services or wants to explore that. And they're also going to the homes of families and of people that live near the school that have been questioned and asked questions by FBI and state police in recent days, just to comfort them, see what they need, how they're holding up. And you know, they've really anchored this effort on the phrase, whatever you need. It's what they've told me over and over. And one example of that is one of the girls that was in the class where the tragedy happened and survived. She lost her glasses and her phone during the tragedy, and Catholic Charities has replaced that phone for her. It's a small gesture, but it's one that, again, anchors on that phrase, whatever they can do to help.
That is so incredible. Now, John, more and more information is coming out about the shooter. You spoke with the gunman's grandfather. What did he say?
When I was with the gunman's grandfather, you know, he's still very distraught. He still can't believe what happened. He shed tears multiple times, just expressing the heartbreak for those 21 victims and their families, for what this town is going through and how it may never be the same and the effect that this tragedy will have. He talked about how he is against guns, how he didn't know that his grandson had these guns, but also didn't really want to talk much more about his grandson at this time. You know, his wife is still in the hospital, who was shot by the grandson as well, and he said that she had surgery. She has another coming up, so she's not completely out of the woods. But, you know, through God, she is a devout Catholic. He is non-denominational, but very faithful himself, and he said through God they're going to get strength to get through this, and so that's how they're getting through this, and he will today. He said he is bringing her glasses and her rosary so that she can pray from her hospital bed.
Wow, John, such a powerful interview. The national correspondent for the Tablet and Crux, John Lavenburg, thank you for keeping us informed, and incredible work down there.
Thank you, Emily.
President Biden will be in Texas on Sunday, May 29th. The president and the First Lady, Jill Biden, will visit Uvalde to meet with families who lost loved ones in Tuesday's mass shooting. In a brief statement, the White House says they are traveling to the town to grieve with the community that lost 21 lives in the mass shooting. And the Uvalde community is still trying to come to terms with the unimaginable loss, like the father of one of the victims, fourth grader Jackie Cesaris.
She's full of love and full of life, and she would do anything for anybody.
Jackie had just had her first communion. She and her fellow schoolmates taken too soon. Like 9-year-old Ellie Garcia, who was just a week from her 10th birthday. And 10-year-old Nevaeh Bravo, her first name spelled backwards is heaven. Angels now to their families, 19 children and 2 teachers. This is the pain of their loss.
How do you look at this girl and shoot her? Oh, my baby, how do you shoot my baby?
Angel Garza, who raised Amerie Jo Garza, wants you to know she tried to call 911 to save her classmates and teachers.
She was the sweetest little girl who did nothing wrong. She listened to her mom and dad. She always brushed her teeth. She was creative. She made things for us. She never got in trouble in school.
Lexi Rubio loves sports, and at just 10 years old, she dreamed of traveling the world.
She wanted to go to Australia.
She wanted to go to Australia.
She wanted to go to law school.
Law school.
Yep, at St. Mary's, because that's where I go.
Jackie Sarzar's father, Jacinto, called her a firecracker, posting his range of emotions, first at the cowardly way his daughter was killed. It hurts us to our souls. Then a note to his daughter, be in peace with the rest of the Angel's sweetheart. Baby girl, we all love you with all our hearts. A community vigil mourning the loss of life in Uvalde, including teacher Irma Garcia, who was in her first year teaching alongside Eva Morales. Both died, their families say, shielding students from gunfire. Not lost here, the children still being treated in the hospital. A pediatric trauma director describes them as critical but stable, wishing there were more she could save.
I think that's what hit us the most, not of the patients that we did receive, and we are honored to treat them, but the patients that we did not receive. That is the most challenging aspect of our job right now.
The Flores family was among those who rushed to the hospitals in search of their children. That was where Jose Flores Sr.'s worst nightmare came true.
So I didn't get to hold him no more. I didn't get to see him no more.
And it's a nightmare 20 other families in this close-knit community had to live out too. On Capitol Hill, a small group of Republican and Democratic senators are working towards a compromise on new gun laws. The bipartisan group agreed to spend the Memorial Day recess examining modest steps to limit access to guns. Their 2 main proposals currently include expanding background checks for firearm purchases and red flag laws, which would prohibit people from possessing a gun if they're deemed a danger to themselves or to others. As lawmakers call for gun reform, the National Rifle Association is moving forward with its annual convention in Houston. The NRA said those attending will reflect on the Uvalde shooting. Former President Donald Trump and other Republican leaders are speaking at the event. However, several speakers, including Texas Governor Greg Abbott, canceled their in-person appearances.
I'm living moment to moment right now. My heart, my head, and my body are in Uvalde right now. And I'm here to help the people who are hurting.
Ahead of the convention, NRA officials reiterated their stance against gun control, saying the focus should be on better mental health care and gun violence prevention. Pope Francis said his heart was shattered over the Texas school shooting. He spoke out at his Wednesday audience before thousands of pilgrims at the Vatican.
Ho il cuore affranto per la strage nella scuola elementare in Texas. Prego per I bambini, per gli adulti uccisi e per le loro famiglie.
The Pope went on to say that it's time to say enough to the indiscriminate trafficking of weapons and that we all have to work together so that tragedies like this do not happen again. New York's Cardinal Timothy Dolan is also demanding changes. He echoed calls made by the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops, saying, "We bishops continue our call for sensible gun control, part of turning away from a culture of death and building a true culture of life. Changes to our current gun laws are clearly needed. At the same time, those who suffer from mental illness in our society also deserve assistance, support, love, and prayers. Jesus would not turn his back on someone who is ailing, and we know there are many who need our help." Nuns are joining the call. The Sisters of Mercy of the Americas saying in a statement, "Even as we offer solidarity through lament and prayer, we refuse to accept a world in which thoughts and prayers are offered without meaningful policy change to address the crisis of gun violence in this country. While we grieve alongside the families and community in Uvalde and those still grieving in Buffalo, we renew our call on state legislatures and Congress to enact more comprehensive laws limiting access to deadly weapons." Coming up on Currents News, we'll hear what the Bishop of Brooklyn, Robert Brennan, had to say following the Texas shooting. He talks about gun control and how society deals with mental illness, plus what the church can do to help. That's coming up on Currents News. And as we mentioned earlier, Catholic Charities of Archdiocese of San Antonio are providing relief services to those affected by the shooting, including emergency financial assistance for family members who need to travel to Uvalde. All those services will be free. If you would like to donate, just go to ccaosa.org/Catholic Charities Uvalde. There's a lot more news headed your way. A Memorial Day tradition in Arlington has a symbolic new addition. We'll explain what these flowers mean and why they're so important. Also beware, this Memorial Day weekend is going to be an expensive one. Prices at the pump are surging, and you'll also see higher prices in other places. We'll explain.
There are now some big changes to the tablet website. You can get personalized access to the Catholic news you value. Sign up for free at thetablet.org.
Churches in the Diocese of Brooklyn tolled their bell 21 times for the victims of the Texas school shooting. The diocese joined other houses of worship in New York at noon on Thursday to commemorate the lives of the 19 children and 2 teachers killed at the request of Mayor Eric Adams. Bishop Robert Brennan asked all pastors and administrators to take part in that tribute to the victims. Bishop Brennan also urged the faithful to join him in prayer for those lives lost in the community of Uvalde. Currents News' Christine Persichetti asked Bishop Brennan what he thinks is causing all of this hate and anger in the world.
Well, I wish I could get to the bottom of that myself. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what causes it. Is that power of evil? I think we need to take very seriously a deep look at a lot of things. There's the reality of some of these massive assault weapons, and then how we deal with things like mental illness. How do we deal with antisocial behavior? How are we protecting our institutions? It's one question after another, but I mean, there are real powerful forces of evil that surround us, and it really shakes us to the core.
You mentioned mental illness. There have been reports of some bizarre behavior by the suspect in this case. He posted pictures of guns online. He was apparently teased and bullied as a child. If the problem is mental illness, how do we go about fixing it?
Again, I wish I had the answer, but it's something that we as a society have to deal with very, very realistically. We have to be honest with it, name it, and try to find ways to assist people and really to assist the families. I can't imagine the pain that the families of these individuals go through beforehand, not knowing what to do and not finding the support that they need. Somehow or another, we have to learn as a society how to deal with this.
And there is a stigma surrounding mental illness. What is something the church can do to get rid of that stigma?
we always try to talk and to listen to one another, and I guess we need to find ways to, even ourselves, to support families who are really struggling. There are a lot of people carrying a lot of pain, and our parishes, our Catholic charities, we do what we can to help support one another along the way. But obviously, for everything that we try to do, we're keenly aware of the fact that there are hundreds, thousands of others who we may not have contact with. So it seems overwhelming, but I think we have to do what we can, one person at a time, one parish at a time, to just address what's in front of us. And then there's advocacy. I think we need to work together with the larger community. I think this is something that goes beyond the church. This is something that we as a community have to look long and hard at. But for now, I think our posture at this very moment is really one of deep mourning. I think we stand in solidarity with the families of the children and the families of the teachers who were killed. We stand in great solidarity with all of the families of the children who were in the school. I mean, my goodness, how do you help a child heal from experiencing all that they have seen and heard and experienced?
So true. And thinking of the parents of the children who were killed, how do you comfort those parents? How do you recover from something like this as a parent?
I don't think you do recover. I think what we do is we try to walk with one another, cry with one another. We do what we can with what's in front of us. We love one another. We just have to love one another more and more to overcome the reality of evil.
Is there a lesson in this? I know when I went home, I hugged my kids a little tighter. Is it, don't take your loved ones for granted, don't stay angry?
There are many lessons, and those are some of the really good ones. Appreciate each day. Never lose an opportunity to tell somebody you love them. Never take people's feelings for granted. Though there are many lessons in this, and then many lessons that we learn as a community. Again, how do we stand with and support each other along the way?
You can watch Christine's full interview with Bishop Brennan on our website, currentsny.tv. And stay with Currents News and the tablet online for the latest on any developments in the Texas school shooting. It's a part of Memorial Day that's a tradition that honors those who made the ultimate sacrifice for their nation. Flags are always placed at the graves of Virginia's Arlington National Cemetery. It's the final resting place for 400,000 service members and their eligible dependents. And also visitors at Arlington will be allowed to place long stem flowers at the tomb of the unknown soldier. This is only the second time in the past 100 years that the public is allowed on the tomb's plaza.
It truly connects everyone to those who gave their lives and their identities, for us. And so we wanted to find a way to allow the public to again lay flowers at the graveside of these soldiers.
The tomb has been the final resting place for America's unidentified service members since 1921. Millions of Americans are hitting the road for this Memorial Day weekend, and your trips are going to be more expensive than usual. As Pete Muntean reports, the cost of gas, food, hotels, and airfare are all on the rise.
Single dad Eric Stevens says he makes $110,000 a year, but even that is not enough to afford a trip to the lake. Here in Los Angeles, $6 a gallon gas has kept his plans in park.
Maybe for the affluent, they can afford it, but for me to go anywhere is minimum a $200 decision in regards to gas, and you haven't fed your kids or done anything else.
Gas Buddy says holiday weekend gas prices are the highest they have been since 2012, but the pain goes beyond the pump. New data says hotels have jumped 42% compared to last year. Airfare is up 6%.
This will likely be one of the most expensive Memorial Day travel periods we've ever seen.
Even still, AAA thinks Americans will not be stopped traveling to top destinations such as Orlando, Seattle, Miami, and Las Vegas. The latest projection, 34.9 million people will drive 50 miles or more over the 5 days around Memorial Day.
Do you think that the numbers will be all that far off from the projection?
You know, our projections have always been pretty accurate, but we've never been trying to project in an environment like this.
The new fear is this expensive start to summer travel could last. Gas Buddy's Patrick DeHaan thinks the average price of gas will not dip below $4.50 for months.
I don't really think the higher price of fuel is going to slow down many. It may slow down some, but certainly there's still a very healthy appetite to hit the road this summer.
You ready for school, baby girl?
Not so for Eric Stevens, who says he's choosing to pay for his daughter's daycare over a road trip.
Fun has been postponed for the indefinite future, especially the way things are going. While I'd like to say or hope there's an end in sight, I just don't see one.
That was Pete Muntean reporting. According to AAA, the national average for a gallon as of Friday morning is nearly $4.60. It was $3.04 this time last year. Still to come on Currents News, a Dyker Heights street is getting a new name, and it's all thanks to some parishioners in Brooklyn. And a special buoy now marks the spot where the lyrics to a very important American song were written. Do you have a story idea or want to share a tip? Email us at newstips@desalesmedia.org or call our 24-hour number 718-517-3122. We'll be right back. They marked 100 years in the Dyker Heights community. The parishioners at St. Ephraim Catholic Church finally renamed the corner of Bay Ridge Parkway and Fort Hamilton Parkway St. Ephraim's Way. The parish was founded in 1921 and was named after St. Ephraim the Syrian. That's who Pope Benedict XV declared a Doctor of the Universal Church in 1920. Congratulations are in order for Cathedral Prep High School's class of 2022. Brooklyn Bishop Robert Brennan joined the 42 young men at the Cathedral Basilica of St. James for their graduation, offering a special prayer to kick off the next chapter in their lives. And thanks to their hard work and dedication, the class as a whole earned more than $17 million in scholarships. Bishop Brennan also enjoyed a day at the ballpark the other weekend. This as varsity teams from around the diocese competed for the championship title. In the first game of the day, Archbishop Malloy High won a hard-fought victory over their rivals at Holy Cross High. The second game saw the mighty Xaverian Clippers take down Monsignor McClancy High 13-3. Despite this, both teams moved on to the Catholic High School Athletic Association's intersectional playoffs. It was an honor for the national anthem. The U.S. Coast Guard set out a very patriotic memorial at the edge of Baltimore Harbor. The specifically designed Star-Spangled Buoy marks the approximate location where Francis Scott Key wrote the country's national anthem during the War of 1812. Crew members say this buoy represents more than a marker, just like the anthem it commemorates.
It's about what we as Americans do underneath that flag. When we are at our darkest hours, when we have our backs up against the wall, the most patriotic thing that we can do is to come together and help one another.
The Star-Spangled Buoy is set each summer and removed just before the winter, so you have plenty of time to check it out if you're ever in Baltimore. And that's Currents News. I'm Emily Drewby. We are grateful and remember those who made the ultimate sacrifice for this country on this Memorial Day weekend. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news.